Francesa on the Fan. Good afternoon, everybody, on the Yes Network across the country and WFAN, AM and FM and AM now with 101.9 joining us today, and we'll be simulcast on both now for a very long time, hopefully forever. The mayor is speaking. I want to get to that because I want to hear if he says anything about the marathon, because that's a very big issue opening the program today. Let's go listen.
Has been significant damage done to the electrical system in those buildings, so that when Con Ed's ready to turn the power on, and we have some good news there I'll share with you in a few minutes, that it won't start a fire. But when it comes to individual homes, that is much more problematic. And so in these neighborhoods, we're going to have to go door to door. And if we can't get in, then it's a real risk, because if you turn on power in the neighborhood, a fire may start inside. I did see the fantastic work that our city and federal workers and volunteers are doing to help each other in the areas devastated. I shook their hands, I thanked them, and urged all of them to stay safe and to try to get some rest. Many of them have been working close to 24 hours every day. I don't think anybody can fault the devotion that the workers have had, whether they're volunteers or work for the city or one of the state or federal agency. We are in this together. They understand that, and you can see that in their faces. I was talking to our sanitation commissioner, John Doherty, a few minutes ago, and he has a number of people that he visited in one of the garages who've lost their homes, and yet they're still working. And he said, why? And they said, because I want to help my neighbor. And I think that is the spirit that I've always thought New Yorkers have, and particularly New York City workers. We're here to help each other, but we're also, as city workers, here to help the citizens of this great city, and we're going to continue to do that. The death toll from Sandy continues to rise. We now know that at least 41 New Yorkers have perished, and as I cautioned yesterday, as rescue and recovery efforts continue, there could be more fatalities that are discovered. We are getting to the point where we think we've been through every place, but you can never be 100% sure. Yesterday, as I'm sure you heard, first responders recovered the bodies of little Brandon and Connor Moore of Staten Island. Brandon was 2 years old and Connor was 4. They were swept away from their mother's arms by the force of Sandy's storm surge, and it just breaks your heart to even think about it. As a father, I cannot imagine the pain and anguish the boys' parents are suffering. Their father, Damien, is a city sanitation worker. At the time of the tragedy, he was on the job helping our city respond to the storm. I did talk to him this morning and expressed, as a parent, my deepest sympathies. There's nothing you can ever say to a parent who's lost a child other than you're praying for them, you're praying for their kids, and we will do anything we can to help them. But I think in the end, the loss of a child is something no parent should ever go through. And when they do, it's particularly if you are a parent, you just really feel it. The truth of the matter is, while life in much of our city is getting back to normal, for New Yorkers that have lost loved ones, the storm left a wound that I think will never heal. For those that lost homes or businesses, recovery will be long and difficult, and there are still many around our city facing extremely difficult current situations in the storm's aftermath. For many without power and those who are far from stores and restaurants that are open, fresh food and water is an immediate concern. And as I announced yesterday, we are distributing pre-prepared meals and bottled water to people in the hardest hit areas of the city, including Coney Island, the South Shore of Staten Island, Chinatown and Lower Manhattan, and the Rockaways. We have 13 distribution sites opened, staffed by National Guard members, by New York City service volunteers, and by the staff of the Salvation Army. They distributed something like 290,000 meals and nearly today from Saturday from 1 to 5, and we'll keep them open as long as they are needed. We do have to come up with a long-term plan for people who will be out of their homes for months and not able to on that is to meet the immediate needs of people and hope that when electricity comes back to some, the population that will really need our help will be down to a more manageable size. But whatever the resources and the drive to do so, and the management to do so. Anyone who visits to take 3 meals and bottles of water, people should bring their own bags to carry the food and water if at all possible. To publicize their hours and locations of these homes, we've handed out thousands of flyers in English and Spanish and Chinese in the affected areas. Elected officials represent it out, and we've also posted the site locations on the city's website, nyc.gov. AT&T has placed what they call pods, which are trucks with generators.
That's night. I don't agree with it. They are, but their building is fine. If people can't get to the game, that's the biggest tragedy. They are not going to, in any way, impact the city. They are not going to pull a cop off a job. They are not going to pull an ambulance worker off a job. They are not going to do any of that. So that is a small event compared to the marathon. The fact that the marathon is still going on is mind-boggling. Driving in from Brooklyn today through Lower Manhattan is still dark. You got people washing their hands in the street. You got people who have no power. You have nothing. The city is dark. Bodies. I mean, it's ridiculous. They're trying to people someone up that would answer our questions. We don't know yet if they will. If they say they're too busy doing the people's work, that just answers to what we're talking about. You have cops now come up and tell you that they're still finding bodies in Staten Island. How are you running a marathon when you're still finding bodies and the city is still dark? There are still millions of people in the metropolitan area who don't have power. There are still over 2 million people in the tri-state area who do not have power. 600,000 on Long Island, 1,400,000 in Jersey. Right there. That's 2 million right there. That's not counting New York City, which is still completely dark on this side of 34th Street. Downtown is completely without power. I met a bunch of cops out in the street when I came out of here last night. They said, thank God somebody's showing some sanity. Keep it up. Maybe you can get him to change his mind. We're exhausted. We don't want any part of this on Sunday. And the idea, we're only going to send the guys who are in the academy. Well, wait a second. What happens if something really happens? Just sending guys who aren't even trained yet to be police. Now you got people who are going to protest that there's a marathon. So you're creating your own incidents now. Plus, I want to give this guy in Staten Island some credit, Richard and Nicotra, the Staten Island hotel owner who refuses to evict hurricane refugees for marathon runners. Good for him. This guy owns the Hilton Garden Inn in Bloomfield. Okay? I don't know if it's the hotel where they had the Teddy Atlas in it. If it is, I've been there. So that's the only one I've ever been to down in Staten Island. But you know what? Good for him. How do I tell people they have no place to go and throw them out for runners? And the runners, believe it or not, have come in and said, we understand. So good for them. Here's what the runners should do. They should stay home. And here's a marathon runner named Penny Krakoff who says, you know what? I'm not running. I'm boycotting protest. I cannot start. This is a woman, a social worker from Crown Heights, who told the newspaper, I cannot start a 26.2-mile run in Staten Island. People are missing, stranded, in need of resources. Brooklyn and Queens have equal devastation. Parts of Manhattan are still without electricity, water. Hospitals are closed. The Bronx has its own challenges. So does Manhattan. Today I will volunteer at a city evacuation shelter. Sunday morning I will catch the marathon bus to Staten Island. Not planning to run. I plan to volunteer instead to help some people. Let's not waste resources on a foot race. You know what? God bless her. She's right. This is the dumbest thing anybody's ever heard of. How can you do this? And if the idea is to show that New York is above it and to make the mayor look good, knock it off. And if the idea is just to put some money in the coffers, well, listen, we know the city is losing millions of dollars and billions of dollars a day. So is Nassau County. So is Suffolk County. So is New Jersey, because businesses can't open. Get them open. Spend the time, get them open. Instead of putting people on a marathon, put them in places where they can help. Have people orchestrate to get more workers in here, because until you get the electrical workers and the tree cutters in here, you're not going to get the power up. You're not going to get the businesses open. You're not going to get the gas stations open. You got to get the gas stations open as soon as you can, because you're going to have a riot in the streets if you don't get people gasoline soon. The lines are getting to be 4 hours long. Think about that. We're having 4-hour gas lines. We don't have gas shortages, and we got 4-hour gas lines. You got to get the gasoline stations open. Now, come on. Put some people on this stuff. And if you got more people, fly them in here. You talk about unemployment in this country, every guy who knows how to hook up electrical works should be here. There shouldn't be an unemployed electrical worker in the United States of America. He should be here right now. If there's one electrical worker right now who's been sitting home because he can't get a job, he should be here. If there's a tree cutter in America who right now hasn't had a job in this economy, he should be here. Get him here. We got a crisis. This is not getting better. That's the thing. We are not making, listen, I'm not knocking anybody, but we're not making a lot of progress. The traffic lights are still out. I use the traffic lights on the big thoroughfares a lot as a barometer. When they're out, I know they're not making a lot of progress. When I see shopping centers still out, they're not making a lot of progress. This work is deep and devastating. There are major power lines out, substations out. I understand that. I'm not trying to put the blame on anybody, but let's be realistic here. People have to understand what the gravity is and get the people in here. And that should be what they're worried about. The 100,000 people or 50,000 people, or how many people it takes, including volunteers and runners and everybody it takes to put on a marathon. Both the runners, the Road Runners Club, the volunteers, the ambulance people, the medical people, the security people, the cops, everybody. If everybody all spent that whole day working on our problems here, we'd all be better off. They're digging people out of Staten Island. You're going to run through there on Sunday? I mean, what, are we kidding? Listen, there are times we can debate things. And there are times we can, seriously debate things about whether it makes sense, does it make sense. And we have healthy debate. That's part of what we do on the show. We debate. That's part of what we do in politics. We debate. That's fine. It's healthy. It's a healthy discourse. This is a no-brainer. This is a terrible, terrible decision that makes no sense. To put an event of that size through this city when the tunnels aren't open, when the subway's not working properly, and you're going to close thoroughfares into this city on Sunday morning to run a race? What do you think? Somebody's going to have a good feeling about this on Sunday? You think people are going to be cheering people like they usually do, urging them on? Why? When they don't have power for 5 or 6 days, you think what they care about is finding out who ran in 2:08.2? Or whatever the heck it is, who breaks the record? You can get people plenty of exercise right now, running water and supplies all through these boroughs right now. People are hurting right now. People are on gas lines 4 and 5 hours. They have cops there breaking up fights. I understand that it's hard to get the gas, but that should be what you're worried about right now, is water, is gas, is getting people's power on, finding people who are hurt, getting them a place to live, getting them food, getting them shelter, getting them straightened out, making sure they have dry clothes, making sure they have meals. Not that whether or not we can set up to run a race through the boroughs. My God. I'm against the Knicks playing tonight, but it's small, so I'm not going, because I don't want to say I'm against it and then go sit there and watch the Heat play. I was going to go to the game. I'm not going. Not that anybody cares, but I just can't. I can't say I didn't think they should play and then go sit, courtside and watch the Heat play. I can't do that, so I'm not going. But that's small potatoes. That's not a big deal. The Heat are here. The Knicks are here. If someone doesn't get to the game, so be it. They're a self-contained building. It's not a big deal. They're not, taking up hundreds and, and thousands of people to run a race that takes 26 miles to run and runs through all the boroughs. I mean, that's a world-class event, the marathon. And you know what? If Bloomberg's ego is so big that he wants to show the world we can do this on his watch, you know what? Here's what you want to do. You want to show us something on your watch? Get the power on. We'll all be more impressed. Get everybody dry and safe. Get everybody a place to live. We'll be more impressed. The city's still dark and you're running a marathon. That will be his lasting reputation, his legacy will be that he approved a marathon through a city that was dark. And they're digging out bodies. Someone's got to get to him, whack him up on the side of the head and tell him, hey, Mayor, listen, I know you're bright. I know you think you're a genius, but you know what? This is a bad decision. This is a bad decision. Sometimes people who are really smart get stubborn. This is a bad decision. Here's Bob. All right, we'll try to mix sports with any information you need today. A lot of people have asked if we'll do Breeders' Cup. We will, for those who can watch it tomorrow. And today, it's on this afternoon, too. We'll have Brad Thomas on for that. We'll also do some college football. There's a big college game tomorrow, Alabama and LSU. We'll do that. And Aikman, of course, as we get ready, the Giants and the Steelers Sunday and all of that. The Cowboys and the Falcons Sunday night. And, of course, the Eagles and New Orleans on Monday night. We'll do all that, and we'll also keep you up to date on everything that's going on. I don't want the marathon to be the only issue of the show. I understand how upset people are. I'm surprised at the mayor. I'm surprised that he hasn't seen and felt the amount of anger there is towards this, and outrage there is towards this. Very, very surprising to me that he has missed the boat on this so badly. And frankly, this is the first day where I start to feel that we are not keeping up with the problem, in that I don't see a lot of recovery. Driving through Nassau, coming through Brooklyn, into Lower Manhattan, I don't see a lot of progress since Wednesday to today. I see very little progress. I don't see it anywhere. I see numbers going down, off the board. But when you still have 500,000 and 600,000 people out, all right, I know people already who have gotten power back. I haven't. I'm not worried about me. But, I know people who have. And my guys, 1 out of 4 does have it. Okay, so that's better than none. People are starting to get it back little by little. I understand that. But right now, they need to get the stores back open so that people can get what they need, whether it's the pharmacies, the supermarkets, whatever, and they got to get the gas stations back up. They have to get the gas stations open, because it's not like we have a shortage. We don't have a shortage. We just don't have any gas stations open. And it's just, and I don't agree with the Knicks tonight, but again, that is so small in scope. Let me just tell you here's what I think about these events, whether it's the Knicks, whether it's the Marathon, which is a huge event, or even the Giant game Sunday. If we are not capable, if you have to stretch human and civil resources, even an iota, or take one person away from the recovery and the repairs, then cancel the game. Case closed. Cancel the game. It's simple. Move the Giant game to Pittsburgh. Yeah, the Giants have to play a road game. So what? They'll live. They'll either win or they'll lose it. Play the game in Pittsburgh. I'm not against that. If they have to do that, the Giants wouldn't be against that. So, that's just the way it goes. You're talking about you're talking about an act of God. You're talking about a calamity here of enormous proportions. You have people devastated here. You know, you're 5 days in and we still have 2 million people without power. 5 days in. They're talking 10 days more. You know what it's going to be like around here? 10 more days? They don't have power? And what's more important, the marathon or whether people can vote on Tuesday? Make sure you get your voting places all ready and cleaned up and ready to go. That's more important than a marathon. Ryan in Connecticut, what's up, Ryan?
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah.
Just a quick point on the marathon. You know, I think a lot of people are. I don't think comparing it to the Knicks or the Giants. That's kind of apples and oranges. But I think the big thing with the marathon, you know, flat out, I think first of all, it's just in poor taste. And you know, a lot of people are talking about or have brought up, which I think is also a bad comparison. You know, things after 9/11, wanting to like show resilience.
We didn't play a game for 10 days in this town. We played a game. I was there. I was one of the first ones into that stadium that day. We didn't play a game until either the 21st or the 22nd of September.
Exactly.
Okay? It was 10 days later. It's not 10 days later now. And frankly, that was not a situation where the entire metropolitan area was devastated. We were all devastated personally, but we had a small area that was destroyed. We didn't have 3 states destroyed, and we had everything up and running. So from a logistical and a infrastructure situation, we were far better off then. We were at war then, in essence, but that was a different situation than this. Now we don't have the ability to move people around right now, and we have many parts of the metropolitan area still in the dark.
And that, you know, it felt like a resiliency to the terrorists to say, hey.
Yeah, that was a statement that I agreed with. We had a show.
As like a selfishness. I mean, what are we sticking it to Mother Nature?
That's it. I mean, bingo. Exactly right. Very good, Ryan. That is true. That coming back then, we were showing the world that, hey, you can't stop our way of life. You're showing the terrorists, you can't stop our way of life. Our way of life goes on. Now, what are you doing? You're thumbing your nose at Mother Nature? I mean, listen, we have we're not at war with Mother Nature, okay? So this is about what's in good taste, but more than that, this is just common sense. We're not digging out well. We're not recovering well. If our politicians think that in 5 days having 2 million people with no power is doing well, then you got to get different guys running it. No one's saying they're not doing a good job, but you can't be. If we're ready to run a marathon, that means you think we're in good shape. Well, 2 million people don't have power. We're not in good shape. We don't have any gasoline. We're not in good shape. So to say we're in good shape, run a marathon here, you're saying we're in good shape. I'll tell you something else. I feel for the people who are running around in their little jogging outfits from, Norway. You are running around the street right now because someone might take a swing at them because they don't want them here. It's not their fault. They didn't do anything. But they don't want them running around the city here right now. There's no water. People are washing their hands in the street, and you got people in their jogging outfits. Doesn't make any sense. Not the marathon's fault, but come on now. You're walking into a situation where the whole place has been thrown upside down. What do you expect people to welcome you with open arms when they don't have any power? They can't get gasoline? Does the mayor really think there's going to be people, standing near the bridge cheering people this weekend? And when they don't have any water, they'll love the sight of them throwing the water here with the half-full water bottles on the ground. When they don't have any clean water, they don't have any running water in Long Beach, they're throwing that water on the ground here as the runners come by. It's a hell of a sight. Dave in Manhattan, what's up, Dave?
How you doing, Mike? One of the quotes that Bloomberg made that I wanted to bring to your attention, this shows just how out of touch he is. People who are gone and no longer with us would want the economy to go on. Is he out of his mind?
I mean, what are you, nuts?
This is not his first screw-up, Mike.
You're still digging. He just said, quote, we continue to find bodies. You're finding bodies as you go forward here, and you're running a marathon. The marathon's a celebration.
And Mike, one more point. This isn't his first screw up. Remember the snowstorm in 2010? He was in Bermuda, and he wouldn't even admit where he was. And then he's running around saying we're having snow days in the park with free hot chocolate. He's out of his mind.
Yeah, I'll tell you, you're right about that one. This one, he's just. I mean, the people in Staten Island, they got it right. This guy in Staten Island, you know, who owns the Hilton Garden Inn Hotel, good for him. He's got it right. This marathon of Penny Crackloff, she's got it right. The mayor's lost. Decisions like this, I wouldn't want him endorsing me for president. BT and Yonkers, what's up, BT?
Mike, this is a true story, Mike. My friend is in Staten Island. He lost his father. They found him floating in the backyard. Mike, know what they told me? If they dare run the marathon through there, they better be careful because they don't want to even see these people running through Staten Island.
I agree. I'm just saying.
They want help.
And,
all right?
and not only that.
This guy's a clown. He's a clown, the mayor.
And
Mike.
not only that, you got people who are outraged. You got people who are now saying they're going to protest the marathon. And you know what they said today? You know what they told us? Don't worry, we're not putting real cops on there. We're putting the guys from the academy on it. What are they going to do? They're not even real cops. What happens when people start throwing stuff at them? Put the kids from the academy on it. Can you imagine having someone that you knew that perished in Staten Island and they're running a marathoners through the town while you still don't have any power? And people don't have running water, and here you're handing these cups of water and they're throwing them up in the air as they run by after taking a sip? That's the scene you want to have? Are you nuts? You have towns that don't have running water. Ira's in Staten Island. Go ahead, Ira.
Hey, Mike, what's happening? You know
What's
what?
up?
You are dead on about this whole marathon thing. And you know what? I work in Brooklyn along the Marathon Path on 4th Avenue, and there are approximately 4 to 8 gas stations within a 12 to 15 block radius. And since 5:45 this morning, it looks like Midtown Manhattan, and they have 2 to 4 police officers.
They have to. They got 4-hour gas lines now. You're going to run a marathon through the gas lines?
Mike, at every block. And I spoke to a couple of the officers during my lunch break, and they told me even if the gas stations have gas, they are shutting it down for the marathon. It's not going to be canceled. This is an outrage and a disgrace.
This is a total disgrace. It is a total disgrace. The mayor is this is the worst decision he could ever make. You're going to tell me you're going to shut down active gas stations when people can't get gas to go to work, do their jobs, and you're going to do this for marathoners? I had cops waiting outside. I had cops waiting outside the building for me last night to thank me for saying stuff about it. Don't thank me. It's not about me. The point is, that's how outraged they are. You can't run this marathon. You're running a marathon, you got people online to get water and meals from FEMA. What are you doing? This would have been like if they ran a regatta through New Orleans after Katrina. You out of your minds? I drove through the Lower Manhattan today coming from Brooklyn. The place is a mess. There were people online. They had, I don't know which street it was, but they had like basins set up with faucets, and people were lined up to wash their hands in them. No power. No power. Places with no water. You're digging the dead out of Staten Island, and you're running a marathon through there on Sunday? Are you nuts? Somebody help them. Here's Bob. And I want you to know this, too, folks, if you're going to the Giant game Sunday. The 10,000 fans who take the train to Giant Stadium will have to find an alternate method. The New Jersey Transit will not run the popular trains from Secaucus and Hoboken to the stadium on Sunday. They will not run the game. They will not. They will run their trains in other places where they do more good. The system is not in position where it can support this. Understand that, okay? If that impacts you going to the games, hey, if the Giants have to play in front of a half a house, they play in front of a half a house if they're playing that game. That's their problem, okay? They will not, New Jersey Transit will not run the very popular trains between Secaucus and Hoboken to the stadium, okay? Will not. And that services over 10,000 Giant fans every game. So just take that into account. There is looting right now in Staten Island, according to CBS TV. Looting. Okay. They are now talking of blocking off streets for the marathon that have open gas stations on it. Are you going to tell me you are going to deprive people of gasoline to run this thing? You are out of your cotton-picking minds. This is going to, in the next 36 hours, get very ugly unless the mayor recants. Andy joins us. What's up, Andy?
Mike, I have to say, I think you're way off on this.
Oh,
you're basically inciting people to riot.
Right, well, no, wait a second. I'm not inciting anybody. What I'm saying, wait a second. I'm inciting people to riot. I'm telling the mayor to call the darn thing off so there's no trouble.
Right, but you're saying that if the marathoners are running, like, be careful, someone might take a swing at them, or people are going to throw bottles.
You know what? Wait a second. There are people already blogging stuff like that already out there.
Right, because people are emotional and they're frustrated.
Because there's people dead in Staten Island.
Right, but you're taking advantage of people's emotions.
I'm not taking advantage. Hey, do the right thing. Now tell me why you should run this marathon. Go ahead. I'll give you 30 seconds to show me why you should run it.
The mayor has a job to do. He has to think of everything that's going on in the city. He can't react emotionally and out of frustration, and he has to say what is best for all.
Wait a second. I asked you to tell me why they should run.
The mayor said that no resources are going to be taken away from the relief efforts. And if the mayor says that,
how is that possible? How is that possible?
Because it's not going to make a difference for the person whose house is flooded out or the person who lost a loved one.
What about all the cops? What about all the police who have to provide security? Aren't they better served at other places?
That's for the mayor and the police.
Oh, okay. Well, you let me ask something. Put that through your head. Put that through your head. Listen, they're allowed to make bad decisions, you know.
Thank goodness you are not administrator.
Well, listen.
You are reacting emotionally and out of frustration.
No, I'm not.
And you know nothing. You know nothing about what's going on.
This is a disgrace. This is a disgrace, and you're a fool to think they should run this marathon. A fool would think they should run it. You understand? Only a fool would think they should run this marathon. You're telling me that they should have one cop on that marathon route. One cop. You have people, they need police on every gas line. They're going to shut down open gas stations to run the marathon through those blocks. That's a disgrace. They're digging people out of Staten Island. You're going to run a marathon through there? What, to make $200 million? Just because he's the mayor doesn't mean he doesn't make bad calls. This is a bad call. This is a terrible call. You have 2 million people without power. You run the marathon as a celebration. You don't run it through an area that has been destroyed. This is his ego talking. I don't care about the 200 million. They're losing a fortune every day. You want to cut the losses? Get the power on. And you tell me you're not doing one thing. They're throwing electrical workers out of hotels to put marathoners in there. How is that helping? You find one person in Staten Island who wants the marathon. One. And I'm making the bad decision. You know what? It's amazing. In any crowd, you can find some people who just don't get it. It's amazing. It's amazing. There are times, come on, use your noodle. What is the upside of running this marathon? Zach in Manhattan, what's up?
Hey, Mike. I just want to say I'm also running the marathon, and I agree with most of what you're saying. You know, I understand the backlash about the marathon not being canceled, and I agree it's too soon. It's in poor taste. The resources being allotted to Manhattan the marathon setup would be better served helping clean up the city, restoring power to lower Manhattan, aiding residents in damaged zones. The suffering of an entire region outweighs the hard work and dedicated training of select individuals, myself included. You know, the marathon could be postponed to a later date to properly respect and pay tribute to those who have been injured.
Not just that. Forget just the taste aspect of it. You are going to take if you have one cop or one police academy student on that route, and you will have thousands, they can be on gas station lines. They can be where there's traffic lights and there's no cops and there's trouble in these intersections. They can be doing other work. All that water that goes to waste on that route that is used by these athletes, half bottles of water, they need that water in places around this area.
Oh, and I absolutely agree with you. I mean, I'm from Lower Manhattan. I'm without power right now.
Right, and this is not a time to be doing this.
And I couldn't agree with you more, but it is the decision of a few elected officials.
Yeah,
it's not.
Listen, just because he is the mayor doesn't mean he's right. And, you know, the last caller, well, he's the mayor, he makes those decisions. Well, great. That doesn't mean that. That means that you blindly follow your leaders wherever they go. That you get in trouble doing that. You're allowed to question your leaders. It doesn't mean you're wrong when you question them. They're often wrong. They're sometimes right. They make great calls. They often make wrong calls. This is a wrong call. This is a bad decision on so many levels. I can't see, other than the fact that it's going to put some money in the city, I can't see one thing you're gaining. What? That Mayor Mike gets to show the world that New York is tough and he got the... Why? Is he going to run for the Emperor of the Globe? I mean, is that what it is? I mean, what? That's what this is about. As the other caller said, you're not thumbing your nose at terrorists here as you get back up. You're thumbing your nose at Mother Nature. She doesn't care. You got people, you watching these scenes out of these places? They're still digging dead bodies out of Staten Island. You're going to run your marathoners through there? You're going to shut a gas station where people waiting hours and hours for gas to run marathoners through there? And you expect them to like that? You tell me one person without power is going to be out cheering for these people? They haven't had power in a week. Ralph from Manhattan, go ahead.
They are threatening violence against these runners, Mike.
I know they are, but I know, listen to that call. I know they are. I'm not inciting it. I'm already reading people threatening people.
In fact, on the internet, it's a concerted effort, and that's certainly not the answer. Mike, New York.
It's not the answer, but the problem is you are thumbing your nose at people who are hurting. It's a dumb idea. It's not the marathoners' fault, but they're being led into a bad situation.
Your viewpoint is extremely valid, Mike. New Yorkers are known to be extremely philanthropic in this type of situation. Let me just throw this at you, and please hear me out. The hundreds of millions that this will bring in it's already due to be donated to the relief aid of these people, these poor people whom I feel for completely for their relief effort, Mike. You know, I'm telling you, the mayor, along with Peter King, along with former Mayor Ed Koch, they all agreed this should be run. And, you know,
this is Ralph. We don't have this is not a money issue. They are not running that marathon because they need the money. That money is going in the coffers. All they're going to see is the tax money. That money's not all being donated. That's a bunch of nonsense.
Not all,
okay,
Mike, not all, Mike.
Ralph, we are going to raise We raised a fortune as a country for Katrina. We raised a fortune for people around the globe when they have earthquakes or volcanoes. We raise money all the time. Raising money is not the issue here. We will raise money. The government will just print it. That's what they do every day. We will have plenty of money.
I hear you, and there's also prevailing thoughts, even though you don't agree, and I appreciate it, but that this will bring us back to some normal.
I don't believe it. You know what will bring us back, Ralph? Get the power on. If the power was on, Ralph, you are not going to get people to feel normal when they don't have any power.
Well, the mayor doesn't apply his usual heavy hand in this event, and he's still bashed for it. I'm no big fan of the mayor, but he's letting the proceedings go on. I want to know these 47.
Ralph, why are you running? How are you running through Staten Island when it's devastated?
Well, it's just a shame that it does happen to start in Staten Island.
Well, what are you doing there? You don't belong there right now, having an event.
They can't reroute.
They don't cancel it. You're closing bridges. You don't even have the tunnels open. You don't have the subway running. You're closing bridges? You're not ready for this. If you think one person without power is going to say, I'll tell you, I haven't had power in 8 days, but thank God they ran the marathon Sunday. Are you out of your mind? I'll tell you, that made me feel good. I'll tell you, I'm okay now. I'm okay if I don't have power for 10 days because I want to see the marathon. First of all, most of the people don't even care about the marathon. Secondly, the people here, you think they're going to go line the street and watch it? The only ones who are going to go hand out water are ones that haven't had any. Bob in Torrington, what's up?
Mike, you know what I don't understand is, I agree they shouldn't run this thing, but why doesn't Staten Island have its own government that could say, screw you, we're not letting you in, and just don't let the marathoners come in to start the race?
I don't know how that works. I think they have city. They're part of the city. I don't think they have their own. I don't think you're looking to have a civil war here. But listen. Their county officials have already spoken out against the marathon. They already have. They're
how the mayor could just wave a wand and tell everybody in New York, we don't care what condition your specific area is in, we're running this thing. Too bad for you. I just don't understand.
And what do you think? The people in New York can't even watch this thing. You think they're going to line the streets and they don't have power? How are they going to get there to watch it? They don't have any gasoline, and there's no subway. How are they going to watch it? And they're not coming to watch it. You think people who haven't had power in a week are going to come here to cheer people on? You know who get a big ovation right now? The electrical workers and the tree cutters who come running through the street. That's who people would cheer right now. Or somebody with gasoline. You want a big ovation? Send the gas trucks through the city. This idea, they're going to donate all the money. That's not true. Secondly, you don't need money. They have money. NBC's going to run something tonight that'll make a fortune. They're having this concert tonight. That thing will bring in a fortune. The last 2 times they did it, they brought in a ton of money. The Red Cross will get plenty of money. We are good at getting money. We raise money like crazy. We raise money like crazy for people not even in our own country. That's not the issue, raising money. You got to get the city back up and running again. You got to get the power on. You got 2 million people in the dark. Not 2 million. Here's Bob.
WFAN FM.